Hey, this is Troy Erickson from the Secrets of Scale podcast and copywriting.org. And today we have a really awesome guest joining us from down under. And this woman is very incredible for a number of reasons. She spent a lot of time in the army, and she also has like all kinds of like doctorates and things that I don't even understand because she's so smart. On top of that, she's been writing a weekly email for over 8 years now, and I think she's almost at 400 of them. Plus, she is just really good at writing like authentic personal copy and is a fan favorite of a lot of copywriters out there. So I'd like to welcome Pauline Longdon.
Hey, Troy, it's awesome to be here. Thank you for having me.
Likewise, yeah, I'm super pumped. I've heard about you a lot and talked to you on Facebook over the last couple of years or so. But yeah, it's good to have you here and introduce your story to anybody that doesn't know it. So could you start off and just tell us like how you fell into the copywriting world?
Yeah, I never really wanted to be a copywriter. I never considered myself to be a writer of any description. But I found myself at a fork in the road was that I was an offer owner. I had my own business and I tried to get a copywriter to write it for me. It was kind of in the woo world, so it was kind of that intangible kind of weird copy at the time. And I just couldn't find a copywriter that didn't make me sound like a charlatan. Despite knowing how good I was at what I was doing and the effects it was having on people, the copy just made me sound like I wouldn't have even have bought from myself. So I actually hired a marketing company to write some copy for me in a great big like a funnel. And they wrote it for a lot of money at the time. And it made me cry. It was so horrible. And so then I said, oh, can you please rewrite this? And they went, no, if you think you can do better, do better. And I went, I can't do any worse. And so began the copywriting journey. And yeah, and they've been watching me ever since then, just go from strength to strength. Yeah.
That's
Funny
a
way to
good
get in.
point. You said that you wouldn't even buy from it. And I think that's kind of like a wake up call for a lot of people. And it just goes to show like you really have to pay attention to what's going on, not just with your copy, but the things around the copy and like how authentic is it. And that's something you really pride yourself about, like the authenticity in copy, not just from like an ethics standpoint, but also just from like making sure it converts. So can you talk a little bit about just like authenticity and copy and like how you put those things together?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I noticed that people try to do when they write copy is try to sound like a copywriter. But I think if people are concentrating on, trying to see that Chris Haddad wrote this, Paris Lampropoulos wrote this, Clayton Makepeace wrote that, they're concentrating on the wrong thing in the copy. Like, I believe that our words, and I think Gary Halbert actually said it as well, is that our writing or our copy should be invisible. And if people can actually see the words and are impressed by the writing, then you've failed. So I've really taken that on board. And what I want to do is I just want to have that, like a heart-to-heart communication with people and not try to force them to do something. You can actually get them to, like, through persuasion and, read the book Influence by Cialdini. There's 6, principles of persuasion right there that if you just overlay them into your copy, you don't even have to do that, like, used car salesman, really pushy stuff. And that's where the authenticity comes in. And actually giving a crap about people is a really good start to get like authentic copy as well. A lot of people write copy for products that they wouldn't buy themselves. And you kind of just like touched on ethics very quickly. But if I wouldn't sell this product to my loved ones, I don't write for it. That's it.
That's a
Yeah.
good point. Now, you also mentioned that you are a big fan of Paris Lampropoulos, and you also said that you were the first Australian woman to be trained by him, and for over 6 years. And you also, like I said, he's one of your favorites. So, like, what does he mean to you, and how did he inspire you to get into copywriting? And is that where you got a lot of your authenticity from, or is that all from within?
I've always had that authenticity. That was something just from the way that, like, when I was in the army, I was a major, and as an officer, I had that authenticity. I was kind of a little different than the robotic kind of like way officers acted. Where Paris comes into the picture is I was already a copywriter when I met him, and I was getting really good. And it's funny about the whole A-lister title, because like I was an A-list. I don't call myself those, like that's crazy. But so I got to the top of copywriting in Australia by about like 2014. And then I decided to go to the Titans of Direct Response, because I actually met one of Paris's copy cubs here in Australia. His name's Alexi Neoclis. And he was raving about Paris. And I went, I don't know who this guy is, but I want to be one of his cubs. And he goes, yeah, good luck with that. I went, you watch me. Anyway, so then I went to Titans of Direct Response in 2014. I met Paris and I walked up to him and said, hey, what do I have to do to be one of your cubs? And he said, nothing. And I went, fantastic, sign me up. He goes, no, nothing, because I'm not taking them anymore. And I said, oh, but when you do, I'm going to be in that next group. And he goes, we'll see. And so then, and it's hard for me because like I'm half a world away, but every time I went to an event and he was there, I made a special note to go up and say, hey, Paris. And he goes, at one of them, he says, I see you more than the people who live in America. Like, seriously, what is that? And I thought, well, in my head, it's like strategic positioning is what it is, because I want this. And so then I just kept at it. I went to America a few more times for some events. He was there, just popped up my head. And then at the end of 2016, I got an email from him. Hey, do you want to be a cub still? I'm doing another group, starts in next year. Either you're in, you're out. I said, I am so in. Little did I know that the calls are at like 2 p.m. every Friday, which is actually like either 4 a.m. for me in winter or 5 a.m. in summer. And so I started in February or January 2017. And to this day, I'm still a Paris cub. We started with about 12 people. We've whittled down to 5. 5 are left. It's like the Navy SEALs of copy training. So Paris has been a massive influence in my life. And his mentoring is more like an apprenticeship. So we may not pay with money, but we pay with different currency, which is also known as kind of like our soul. But anyway, it's been an incredible journey. One that I'm so glad that I pursued, because I don't know where I'd be today if I hadn't have, just followed my dreams and just go after everything you want. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. That's a cool story. Just knowing like how persistent you were. And it's like, I see you more often than people who live in America. And every once in a while in my journey too, I come across people like that, and it really stands out. And those are the kind of people that I want to be around. Now, as far as copy goes, you say that your favorite niches in your typed interview are health, financial, personal development, and biz op, and just in general clients that interest you and have great products. Can you talk a little bit more, like out of those, what's your number one favorite? And I know a lot of your work is under NDA, but do you have any wins that you can sneak in there?
Well, yeah. So I don't really have a favorite. My favorite, Troy, is actually writing really great, stimulating copy. And one that I can share is last year I did a copy partnership with Jason Moffat, and we were writing it was kind of like a biz op, but also for like the law of attraction kind of niche. And so we did a video sales letter for that, and I only had like a weekend to write it, like, so really about 14 hours. After like that, we were trying, just to establish the parameters of our partnership and all that sort of stuff. I got the what I needed to do to write, and then he goes, yeah, I want it by Sunday night. And I went, oh man, it's my Friday, like that's ridiculous. So just got in there, did it. Within a week, that video sales letter had made about $350,000, and I got a really nice little profit share on that. So that was really good. So, I mean, when I started copy, I guess the reason I don't have a particularly favorite niche was I started copy and I was writing for myself, but then I very quickly got myself onto a copy team here in Australia. And I was writing like what they call a shock and awe packet. So it's very like Dan Kennedy style shock and awe pack. So what that is, it's a whole like soup to nuts kind of marketing funnel. It's online, offline, and it's got so many moving parts. I mean, there was about like 90 pages of copy I had to write, but then it became very formulaic. And then so I never had a client in the same niche ever. It would always be like a car dealer, or it would be like a duct cleaner, or there would be all these like things. So I never said no to it. And even within the parameters of that funnel, I was writing emails, I was writing like offline ads, I was writing radio scripts, I was writing just everything that I needed to write. So I think that gave me a really broad introduction to just writing copy and writing whatever so if someone said, Pauline, can you write this? I'd go, of course I can. And then I'd go, quick, look it up. How do you write that? So that's why I don't have any favorites, because I just really like to work with people that stimulate me and that the products feel good. You know, I've got this ethical kind of like mantra that I say, it has to be right for me, you, and the planet, and I'll do it. If one of those is out, then it's not done. And that's across the board. That's not just copy, that's my life, you know.
Yeah, that's cool. How many clients do you think over the years that you've had, and how many have you turned away?
Well, obviously I've turned away a lot more than I've ever actually worked with. And even now as a mentor, I turn away more copywriters than I actually accept as well, you know, because people just aren't a right fit. I guess here's the blessing that I have, is that I don't do things for the money anymore. I'm in a fairly comfortable spot. So I don't mentor for money, and I don't actually write for money. It all comes together to a very comfortable living. But I've gone beyond that I have to just like say yes to everything and then work out the ethical dilemma later. And in fact, I have over my career voluntarily refunded people's money because there were red flags that I didn't see. And then when I started to write the copy, just something reared its ugly head. And now I didn't have to return their money at all, because like I've got a kill fee in the contract. But I just thought that my reputation is worth way more than a couple of $1,000s or whatever their deposit was. So I just gave it back.
Yeah, that's a really good point too. Just that people need to understand that the more that you go out and you find the things that align with you, the clients and the money will come until you are comfortable. Like, sure, you have to be good and you have to just like do what you align with, because you can't fake not being you. If there's only a certain amount of time that you can try to do things that don't really align with like your soul. So that's just a really good reminder for people that are watching. Like, if you're new, like, just stick to the things that you enjoy and you believe in and focus on that, because there's so many like niches and categories and clients in the world. Like, there's more than enough in the lane that you believe in. So thank you for that reminder, Pauline.
Can I just say something quickly about that as well? Because like people are watching this and they go, yeah, Troy and Pauline, you can say that because like where you are in your career. I actually, when I was really not desperate, but I was going to say an Aussie word, which is skint, which is like no money. I had no money. I had an opportunity to work for a guy, and it was going to be like the most amount of money that I'd ever earned as a copywriter was going to be like $17,000. Anyway, so I was going through the last moments of like, you know, the interview process and like accepting him as that as well. And I sent him my proposal, and he came back and he said, how about $12,000? And I said, well, what don't you want me to write in your funnel? And he said, no, I want you to write the whole funnel. I just don't want to pay $17,000. I said, well, this isn't a negotiation. And then something just tweaked. He said something to me in the conversation, and I just said to him, would you be saying this to a male copywriter or just a female copywriter? And he went, oh, no, I'd never say this to a male copywriter. And I went, so you'd pay a male copywriter $17,000, but you want to pay me $12,000? He said, pretty much. And I went, how about we don't work together? And I said, good luck, and go and find yourself a male copywriter. Now, at that time, Troy, I really needed that money. So it would have been easy just to like roll over and say, yeah, 12,000, not a problem. Anyway, so he went away. couldn't find a male copywriter that could do the job that he wanted. Came back and he said, I'll pay you $17,000. And I went, and you'll just bugger off because I don't want you as a client. You are disrespectful. So I have actually a list of what I will and won't do for money. And at the top of my list is I will not be disrespected by a client twice. And so why twice? Well, the first time is an accident that like came through and I didn't see it coming. Second time, that's on me. It just doesn't ever happen. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good story too, because that's like a blatant example of somebody that you do not want to work with. It's plenty of examples here. And same thing with like deliverability on our end, right? It's like when we're doing deliverability projects for people, like we have the power to like influence thousands more people to see a message every day. And if we don't want to get that message out to more people, it's like, all right, I'm not going to work with that person. But
that's helpful.
Thank you for sharing. Now, as far as copy goes, what are like maybe 1, 2, or 3 things that you think you've done really well? I mean, obviously authenticity is one of them. It's like the main point here, but any, like maybe a couple of tactical tips that you see a lot of copywriters doing wrong, and you know that they'd be a lot better off if they did them right.
Yeah, well, I mean, over the last, maybe let's say 3 years, because I was like a copy coach for Stefan's Copy Accelerator for quite a while. And I've done like literally, I don't think it's near at 10,000. It's probably in between like 5,000 and 7,000 copy critiques in about 3 years. Just crazy. But what I see a lot of the time is copywriters will try to impress people. And it's funny because in one of my emails that I wrote, I talk about the principle of bless, don't impress. And it's funny, when I told Paris about that on one of the Cub calls, like we were talking about just things that maybe other people don't know. I said, well, this is an across the board, across my life mantra that I try to bless people, not impress them. So what that means in copy is like, just bless people with the solution that they're looking for instead of trying to impress them. Again, goes back to the writing. Don't try to like bamboozle them, and don't try to do these copy like tricks. And, you know, like I see people who don't know how to do NLP trying to go, you know, push NLP into their copy. What I would say is just let it flow. Like, don't get in the way of the copy doing the job. Like, know the purpose of copy. And really for me, copy is like, I don't know, it's like a GPS. Like, you don't get into a car and just go, okay, I'm going to this destination, so I'm just going to randomly drive until I get there. Copy is like when we've got our structure and our outline, it's like the GPS steps. It says turn right at here, turn left here. And so what we're doing is we're guiding the reader all the way down to the bottom to actually take that action. But a lot of copywriters, and this flows into the next tip and maybe mistake that they make, is that they have no direction in their copy. And so then you can see when a copywriter is trying to write themselves into like clarity. It's like you should have that clarity before you write. You should go, okay, I'm going to do this headline. This headline gets this thread, gets this read, gets this read, and it's like a bucket brigade. But they get in the way of the customer journey. And this is one thing that I see in copy all the time, and I do not understand it. It's like, as you read this page or as you watch this video, it's like people hate reading. And like you're getting, like, my idea of copy is when you're writing, you're trying to get them into an attention trance. So nothing exists outside of this screen. And then you're telling them, like, you got them in this attention trance. And then all of a sudden you say, as you read this page, they go, oh, shit, that's right, I'm reading. I hate reading. And so then you've broken the trance that you've worked so hard to, like, don't tell them they're reading. Like, later on this page, it's like, why say that? Just get them into that trance and just like ease them down. You know, Joe Sugarman spoke very a lot about, you know, the grease slide. So I don't understand why you're building a grease slide and then you put this great big freaking speed bump in there, like, as you read this page or later on this page, I'll show you. It's like, just freaking do it. Like, I know they're trying to do an open loop, but it's a clumsy open loop.
Yeah, that's solid advice right there, because a lot of people, I kind of briefly mentioned this earlier, but just understanding the things going on around the copy, right? So it's not just like the ad they came from and the opt-in, and now they're reading, and then the checkout page. It's also like the physical world around them, and reminding them that, hey, you're on your phone right now reading when you were supposed to be doing something else. It's a little bit distracting, kind of pulls them away, and just, thinking and remembering, like, people are people, they have lives, things pop up, things happen, and it's kind of funny, but that's a really solid point. Now, what would you say to somebody who is maybe struggling with imposter syndrome, kind of getting back into the qualitative side of things here? But I thought that might be a good question, because you seem very supportive of copywriters.
I am very supportive of copywriters, but this is where the major kind of like kicks in, because I don't believe in imposter syndrome. I think it's a label. And here's something about me, Troy, is that potentially in life I could have a lot of labels, but I've got this belief that labels are for clothes, not people. And see, if people like accept a label, then that's part of their identity. And there are certain things that you don't want to have in your identity, and one of which is imposter syndrome. Why don't I think that imposter syndrome exists? Well, it kind of does to a degree, but don't own it. And where I see copywriters really trip up with when they really hold on to imposter syndrome, it's usually when they're trying to be someone that they're not, as in they're trying to be the next Stefan Georgi, they're just trying to be the next Justin Goff, the next Troy, the next, pick a name. What I say to copywriters is you will never be any of those people, because like NLP says it very well, the map is never the ground. So you could have a map, an absolutely like accurate to the stone map or photo of California, but that is not California. So you can replicate the best bits of Troy, the best bits of whatever, but you're never going to be that person. So don't even try. The way I say to people who get around imposter syndrome is like, I talk about copy DNA. And so I've got really strong copy DNA. And just as like when we become humans, we take the chromosomes from our mum, chromosomes from our dad, bring them together, and we make up us. That's it. So in copy, we've got the opportunity to go out and like learn from people and take the best of them. Like, I don't take everything from them, right? I love like a lot that Stefan's done. So I take all the good bits and leave the other things that don't quite resonate with me, bring those chromosomes, copy chromosomes, into my copy DNA. And so I've got like all of these incredible teachers within my DNA. So that then like makes me a unique individual instead of like being an imposter, because I'm not trying to be all these people holus bolus. I'm just taking the best bits. And so really, imposter syndrome is when you are not being yourself. So just be yourself. I think we're born like we've got these God-given talents, gifts, abilities. Like, if you're so busy trying to be someone else and use someone else's toolkit or their gifts, you'll get to the end of your life and you'll just look in, on your like little shelf, and you go, I forgot to open that. Shit. Open your gifts now, use them, because like there's already Stefan, there's already Gary Bensavenga, there's already all these amazing people. Like, how do you know that you're not going to be as good as them? So just use the gifts that you've got and pack in that copy DNA as tightly as you can, and you won't have imposter syndrome at all.
That's awesome. I like the drill sergeant Pauline right there, telling people that, hey, just be yourself. Yeah. And if you think about it too, like if you look at any like A-lister, I know you're not a big fan of that word, but like Stefan, for example, when Stefan was in the position of a lot of new copywriters, I think he was living in a trailer at a nature park. So it's like, remember, they don't have any like crazy special weird moments. It's just that they worked hard and they were just themselves. And there wasn't as much like spotlight on copywriters as there is now. I mean, just because, the internet's more advanced and, all that sort of thing. But, and this industry has grown a lot too. But yeah, another thing about this industry, this question is inevitable. I'm sorry, but are you using AI yet in any capacity?
I am actually using a bit of AI. I'm fascinated with it. I think it's going to be a tool that's going to be able to help to leverage people and just to fine tune things. I'm not down the rabbit hole as much as other people. I've kind of got like not my toe in the water. I think I've got my leg in the water, let's say, but I'm excited about it. But I've always gone with the flow of things as well, like technology. I mean, I think AI is the same as like I wrote an email a couple of weeks ago to my list, and I said AI for me is like when they brought into nursing the automatic like blood pressure machines, and then they brought in the pulse oximeters that, you know, take your pulse and all that sort of stuff. I said the old veteran nurses are going, oh my God, this is going to like, you know, take our jobs away. It's like, no, because like sometimes machines fail. But here's the thing, Troy, I think there's going to be a lot of copywriters that are going to lose their skills like the nurses did, because a lot of modern day nurses, if those blood pressure machines stop working, can they take a blood pressure with an old fashioned like machine? I think not. So what I would say is like use AI and as a complementary like tool, but do not let your copy skills slide or fall. Always be in pursuit of that mastery.
That's good. Yeah, it's just about the underlying principle, right? So AI is cool. It's really smart. It's going to get smarter, but you just have to have like the foundation and understanding what you're doing. And again, the things going on around. But yeah, for research right now, it's pretty cool, but I think it'll get better and it'll be fun and interesting. Now, last question for you, since we've done a lot of talk about authenticity and like helping people, imposter syndrome and all this. A lot of people had a ruckus about copywriting.org and the 44 most popular copywriters, which was a vote.
I know.
And sure, it was like 700 something people that voted. Next year's version will have even more, it'll be more accurate, but 10 people voted for you. And again, you have a lot of NDAs and things. You probably could have more votes if we pulled more people. But what does it mean to you that 10 people were like, hey, Pauline is my favorite copywriter of all time?
Well, I mean, I was dumbfounded. I didn't even think that I would be on that list because, like, I don't know, I kind of, some people, I'm known by different copy communities for different things, like Copy Accelerator, people knew me pretty well, but I was one of, you know, many coaches in there. So, I mean, but their favorite copywriter of all time, like going up against like Gary Halbert and Ben Savenger and, you know, Paris. I mean, I put down Paris. I mean, I didn't really think, you know, beyond that. And for someone to actually think of me, I was blown away, Troy. Like I was honored. And that's what I put that post, and I know that you shared it. It was like, I will not apologize for being on a list that I didn't even know was being conducted. But I am going to thank the people who voted for me, because out of all of the copywriters in all of history, they could have like put on that form. They chose to put my name there. I was gobsmacked, to be honest. Really.
Yeah, it's cool. And if you ever want to thank the people personally, just ask and I can tell you who voted for you. But
that's great, because I would actually maybe like to do something for them. I didn't know whether I could. So yeah, I would. I'm going to contact you after this to get.
Sounds good. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously great work. And, you know, the weirdest thing about it is I think people are just upset that their favorites from decades ago weren't on the list. And it's like, you know, some people have passed away and then some people are out like making social media content because it's not their generation. And it's just more like, that's why I use the word popular instead of best. But nonetheless, obviously it's a cool list. And the craziest thing, I'm going to try to get like so many more votes in for next year so we can like be more encompassing of the entire like industry. Because what I've realized over the last year or so, for example, I met this girl named Sarah Turner at a Sam Ovens mastermind event, and I had never heard of her before. And she has a list of 200,000 people who are interested in copywriting. And I was like, oh my gosh, this industry is bigger than I thought it was. I'm trying to like reach around the world and like get the votes of everybody, or at least, you know, tell them about copywriting or something. But that's kind of the plan for the whole thing. So thanks for being part of it. And hopefully you have way more votes next year.
We'll see. Well, what I like about it is that it actually puts some different people on the map as well, because I mean, some of the lists are like the same old, like until you and then Peter were doing your lists, right? it would be always the top 10 or the top 50 copywriters, and they would be the grandfathers of copywriting. And it's like, well, who are the new people to follow? Who are the new people that are making waves and, changing people's lives? So I actually really liked that it put more people on my radar. So, but also what you're saying about the copywriting communities, I've been in a lot of different copywriting communities. So like you've got your Rob and Kira's like the copywriting club. You got like all these other ones. You got Stefan, and then you got Justin's, you got yours. There's so many different copy communities out there, and there are millions of copywriters around the planet right now. Like I'm speaking at an event in Poland in May, and it's another smaller kind of copywriting community as well that is coming together to do that. So there's a lot out there. So what I like to do is I'm like a little bee or a hummingbird. I'm going around all the different communities, just seeing what fits, and again, adding to my copy DNA with each experience.
That's cool to just know how you can like grab certain little pieces, but still remain yourself. So very cool. I think that's about everything I had for here. And I know that, you've got a book that's sitting in the background behind you, but right above it, there's a world of possibilities, right? So if somebody wants to talk to you or read your book or like contact you in some way, where should they go?
Yeah, the simple place to go is my website, thecopyalchemist.com. That is like the first year of my knowledge nuggets. So they're the emails that came out back in 2015 when I was kind of a bit raw, and it's like I hadn't found my voice. And the funny thing is, Troy, that in the next couple of weeks, volume number 2 comes out, and I'm excited. I got Paris to write the forward for it, so
that's awesome.
That
Full
was
circle.
Yeah, exactly.
Pauline, thank you so much for hopping on. We are going to put the Copy Alchemist link below in the description. And thanks to everybody for watching the Secrets of Scale podcast. And then also, I'm sure there's a lot of copywriting.org people watching. So thank you all for being here as well. And we'll see you next time.